Hey there, this is PJ Olsson, and you're listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter at NoShockPod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
PJ Olsson from the Alan Parsons Live Project.
Lead singer.
Yeah.
Promoting the new Alan Parsons solo album, From the New World.
He's also got quite a few solo albums, actually. They're pretty cool. Check them out.
Yeah, very insightful interview. Let's get to it.
All right, good night.
Good night. PJ, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce you, my co-host, Jeff Untied.
PJ, thanks for joining us tonight.
Right on, Jeff. Hello. How are you guys both?
Fantastic. So we are so excited to have you tonight. So,
yeah.
I contacted you way back when, after we had seen your performance with the Alan Parsons Live Project in Davenport, Iowa, back in May. And my brother-in-law, who I was with, punched me in my arm and said, "You got to get that guy on your podcast." So here we are.
Right on, man.
Absolutely. So, the Alan Parsons Live Project recently returned from a European tour. Can you talk a little bit more about the tour and how the attendance is coming about over in Europe after the COVID lockdown?
Well, actually, the tour that we just were supposed to be on was canceled due to Alan being, he had spinal surgery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we ended up, God, it was only just about 3.5, 4 weeks ago. We were supposed to be out, and we found out about a week before that the boss man was going to need spinal surgery, and man, the recovery from something like that is extended. So we ended up not being able to go on the European tour. We had just gotten done doing part of a U.S. tour. Mm-hmm. After COVID, we got out, and we did one tour, and I ended up with COVID in I believe Austin, and it's just been crazy. But we're getting pretty excited about getting back out, coming up here about a month or two.
Oh, so exciting! Yeah. So, every heritage artist, they kind of have their preferences on how they like to approach touring. As far as, when it comes to the Alan Parsons Live Project, schematically, how do you guys go about your touring? Do you get in the bus and do it the old-fashioned way? Do you do those fly-out dates? How does it work for you and the rest of the band?
It goes both ways, We've done quite a few extensive bus tours, but as well, depending on how things work in Europe, sometimes flying is easier. You can fly fly in an hour or two what might take you 6 hours of traffic in Germany. So it really depends on the promoter and depends on the setup of the tour.
Oh, very good.
Do you have any pre-show prep that you do, or any kind of habits or anything you do before a show to kind of get your nerves down, or how's it work for you?
Well, I definitely do. As a singer, I have a whole kind of thing that I do to, and I might overdo it every once in a while. The guys say in the band, they're like, "Man, you warm up a lot," but I use a lot of air when I sing, and I as well just have a really kind of sensitive palate, I guess you could say. So it really needs to be warmed up for me to function at my best. So I spend a lot of time, not necessarily doing scales, but these things called bell tones and just funny little exercises that warm it all up and make it so you're super comfortable.
Oh, very good. So, like I said, we saw you in late May in Davenport, and we were just absolutely blown away by your vocals. At this stage of the game in your career, has the voice always been able to be maintained the way you have, or with age, like anything else, do you have to work a little bit harder at it?
That's a good question. I can answer that with that. Definitely, when I was younger, I had much more difficulty. I had much more difficulty getting out, depending on what was going on and how much pot I was smoking or something like that back then. And you're also growing up and your body's still adjusting and all that. So when I was younger, it was more difficult. Regardless of anything, first and foremost, I'm a baby, whether I'm sick or whatever. I'm like that lead singer guy. Like I'm super sensitive. I'm super sensitive to change, to humidity and dry and all that. And I would tend to say that when I was younger, I had a lot more difficulty. And in the last few years, what I've really found is that the consistent work at making sure that I'm ready to perform has made it so that I don't blow anything.
Very good.
Can you talk a little bit about sharing the stage with sharing vocals and stuff like that? How does that work for you? Do you guys practice all the harmonies or switching when you're going to switch spots, or who's going to do backup? Talk a little bit about that process.
Cool. All right. Well, I first off, I want to say how fortunate I am to be on stage with just massively talented people.
Yeah.
And, to first off, on their instruments, they're incredible, but as well, they really do step up to the plate with a lot of really odd arranged vocals. I mean, Chris Rainbow was a genius. Lenny Zakatak was a genius. So everyone in that original Alan Parsons project was just really fabulous and talented and very soulful. And the guys in the band, especially Dan Tracy and a couple guys, are just really fanatics about it being right, as well, Alan. And before you know it, we may change things up per tour. I'm pretty fortunate being the lead singer that usually I'm the root, and as far as harmonies go, I'm still kind of holding that lead vocal in there.
Yeah.
But there are some changes every once in a while. I mean, I might get tired, or one of the other guys might get tired. We might have to change something up. And we do rehearse the vocals. And most of the time when we rehearse the vocals, we do it not on the PA, just sitting in a room, looking at each other. One person has an acoustic guitar, and we're kind of looking at each other. Todd Cooper, our saxophone player, has a real natural instinct for finding certain things. And when you combine him with Dan Tracy and then Tom Brooks, our keyboard player, is like this virtuoso arranger guy, and then you got Guy coming in who's like, well, wait, I will tell you exactly who is singing wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how it is. I will tell you now, right now, you're flat. You know? So, and then I'm kind of sitting there like, you know, Mr. Positive guy, like, hey man, let's do the gig, or I'm like, you know, creep in a corner in a bundle. Like, I don't want to do it, but we're gonna do it. And I'm always really thankful and grateful for being surrounded with the talent that Alan has in his bands. And it's a lot of fun doing the vocal rehearsals.
Oh, so cool. Well, Alan Parsons released From the New World in, I guess, July 15th. Can you talk a little bit more about the creative process and your contributions to this album?
Well, yeah, you know, it's funny. I've worked with Alan for almost 20 years now. I actually started as his engineer. Mm-hmm. And really have to tell you that's quite a schooling, you know.
Yeah.
He before being his engineer, I probably might have done maybe 7 more years of touring, because in my younger years I was doing tons of touring. But when I joined up with him, it was engineering first and singing second. And the real rewarding thing about that was to be involved with somebody that, with him and Eric, had written so many great songs that no matter what we did going out live, I ended up learning tons, because wherever we went, people really knew his music. Mm-hmm. You know, with my music, I was doing college tours and trying to prove a single here and there or whatever. But with his music, I really found myself in a great universal band that was speaking, communicating an energy that was a real concert. And that was a learning process for me. And I'm very grateful for it. And I'm very grateful for being seated in that and being fortunate enough to sing some of those super emotional songs like Time and Don't Let It Show and Old and Wise. Those are some of my favorites that I'm a little bit more of a legato emotion guy, you know, and those songs really let that happen. And I've been very, very fortunate to be in the live process of everything. And with the new record, you know, Alan he always has his ways, man. And he kind of surprises you. I got to tell you, I've known him for a long time, and I've done many, many sessions with him, and sometimes he just chooses to change shit up, and you're like, what nice. Is going on right now? Let's change the key. Let's drop it like 4 steps and change the tempo 10 beats per minute. And you're like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And then you do it, and there's a lot of magic and a lot of great guidance. And with this record in particular, I think that Alan, in his wonderful loyalty, really paid attention to his live band and made sure that everybody got a piece in on it. You know, he again, I respect his loyalty very much, and I really think he made sure that everybody got a chance. And then once the record was being done, they started talking about some other singers. And for the most part, I mean, I was Alan's engineer for a long time, and now he's got this great new kid, Noah. And, you know, so when it came to like being in the studio at that time as a singer, and with all those guys in the band that are not only awesome musicians, but all of them are producers. Mm-hmm. So I kind of found myself in the process of making this record kind of slipping out the back door most of the time, and just listening and watching Alan really let everyone grow, and then his own, he kind of found some beautiful things, especially, you know, he's got this really wonderful mixing board from Rupert Neve Designs. It's a 5088. I think he's got a 32 track. Mm-hmm. It's at least 24, but this board is so crafty, like in design and the art and the palette that comes with it. And when you get someone like Alan behind that board, combined with those musicians, there's a lot of wonderful things. So I came in and hung out a lot, and towards the end actually is when I came up with Halos. I did it to offer a song that was a little bit more upbeat on the record. Alan had already had about maybe 16 or I don't know, quite a few ballads and mid-tempo songs presented to him, including a bunch of my own, but the record was pretty much sewn up at that time. And so I kind of went back to my Airstream and I called up like a bunch of the old synthesizers and Fairlights and Synclaviers and things that Alan used to use. And I really worked at just designing a song that I thought Alan's fans would really love and that I love about Alan. And that's where Halos came from.
Oh, so cool. Yeah, nice. We had Jeff Coleman on a couple weeks ago, and so Halos was one of those songs that we pointed out that we liked a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And there in Halos, too, the bridge gets pretty, it's got a lot of soundscapes in it that I just would never even have thought about thinking about programming without Alan's inspiration. And dude, I was listening like on Koss headphones at probably 9 years old to Alan Parsons.
Yeah.
You had referred to kind of slipping out the back door on this album. As far as, as you look at your contributions to it, what you're used to doing opposed to what you did now, did you still have that satisfaction that you normally do for albums that you've been involved with?
Absolutely. When Alan Parsons comes to you and says, "Hey, Peach, can you mix 2 songs for my record?" And I don't think he's ever had anyone mix for his records before, so I did Halos and Be My Baby.
Very good.
And I did those and I have kind of a similar version. We're really tight with the Rupert Neve folks, Alan and I. Josh is super awesome over there. And so I have kind of like the same system that Alan has in his studio, but I have a modular system in the front of my Airstream. And during the making of that record, I had my Airstream just parked right next to his studio, So it was just like really easy for him to work on the stuff and then just come on over to my place and listen to a mix and be like, "Hey, let's work on this." Most of the time he'd be like, "More reverb."
I guess, when we're talking about the new material here and you guys are getting ready to go back out on the road again, how much of the new material are you guys going to perform and how much of the classic stuff are you guys going to play as far as the set list goes?
I really don't know what Alan has planned. I will tell you that I've been with Alan through over the 20-year time, one real release with Valid Path, and then a couple of other times that he released singles along the way. And as much as we've always tried to incorporate records, our current records into what we do, there is also a lot of the times when we get done with a show that if we've given up 15 minutes or even 20 minutes to a new record, sometimes it can be a little bit like, "Hey, we didn't get to hear this," or "We didn't get to hear that." And so I'm not sure what Alan has planned. And none of us really know. That's again, there's something very magical to his mystery that he does ask us stuff along the way, and there's some shared emails and we kind of talk, but then realistically it's about the day of the show or even the day before that he's kind of like, "All right, guys, here's the set."
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
and we're all kind of like sitting, okay, and guess what? I mean, I don't beg to differ, because it seems we just keep going out, and he puts us in these positions where you know, we keep succeeding with audiences, and I know we succeed as brothers in a band through music. So I'm very, very grateful to have this job.
Oh, fantastic!
You probably have to have more songs in your hip pocket, like ones that you don't normally sing on, just in case something goes wrong. Or is that how you do it?
You know, there again, we actually do. And it's funny that, like, with an act like this, that you're like, hey, what do you have in your back pocket? I don't know, La Sagrada, Familia. You know, just, sure. You know, the pipe organ comes in at the end, and, you know, whatever. You're like, oh, yeah, that's your back pocket song. Yeah. But yeah, there are some songs that we can. God, I'm trying to think of what that one is right now. Can't Take It With You. Mm-hmm. We don't often play it, but I would have to say that he could probably just call it out, and boom, we'd be able to have it. There are certain songs that offer up real wonderful band experiences, like Prime Time, when Jeff plays the guitar in particular, and kind of goes through that keyboard guitar cycle, soloing. That's a real, I mean, over and over and over again, show after show, to watch those guys do what they do during those sections is pretty cool, man.
Yeah. It absolutely is. Yeah. Well, let's go back to 2003. You joined the Alan Parsons Live Project. Can you talk a little bit more about the opportunity, how it came your way? What can you just kind of give us the backstory behind it?
I can a little bit. I can give you the backstory. I had a manager at that time, Will Sharp, and he was managing David Pack from Ambrosia during that time. And I think he was even managing John Wetton from King Crimson at the time, and a few other bands. And in conversation with David Pack mentioned that he was working on a record with Alan. And my current manager said at that time, oh my God, you know, an artist I work with, you know, loves Alan Parsons. And David Pack goes, wait a minute, you mean PJ Olsson loves Alan Parsons? You mean the stoner Visine guy? And my manager was like, yeah, like he's completely nuts, like, you know, whatever. He has like all of the synthesizers and all the old, and I had all the old classic stuff, and I just loved. I was so inspired from that stuff. And sure enough, the next thing you know, I'm in my car and I'm going to Santa Barbara and I'm engineering for Alan Parsons.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. I walk into a room. Actually, I didn't quite get to the room. I actually, the day before, I got in about 3, and they made me meet at a Mexican restaurant, and we drank 3 or 4 margaritas and discussed the music business for a couple hours. And the next day, Alan pushed me into a room that had a PC that was actually not plugged into the board at that time. And he said, you know, David Pack's going to be here in about 2 hours for his session, and you're on.
Oh, wow.
And that was my first real engineering session. And we ended up working for about 6 months together, 5 months. And my wife, Tamara, at the time was just about to have our youngest daughter, Sophia. I went to go see Alan at the Canyon Club, and he had a singer that I just didn't think like added up to what you should be doing for an icon like that. So after the show, Alan actually asked me, he was like, hey, what'd you think? And I was like, you know something? I don't know. I wasn't really that blown away with your show. And he was like, what? And I was like, I'm not kidding. You know, I think that, and we discussed it. And the next day we were in the recording studio, and he broke out his guitar and he played Time. And I sang Time with him. And I think it was about 20 minutes later, he got on the phone and got rid of the lead singer at that point. And we were about to have a baby, so my wife pushed it out 2 weeks early, and I was on tour 2 days later.
Wow.
With Alan Parsons. And actually, I did not get a rehearsal and did not even get a sound check, because when we got to Mexico, everything was running behind. And he just said, just close your eyes and imagine it's like the CD. So I did that, and sure enough, I went out, and this magical band played this music, and I said, wait, I can just sing the songs I grew up listening to in those Koss headphones.
Yeah.
How cool is this?
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Jeff, you got the next question?
Well, you've also been featured on a couple of live albums, Eye to Eye live in Madrid, or Alan Parsons Symphonic Project live in Colombia. Do you have a memorable story from one of those shows?
Gosh, I have lots of memorable stories from those shows. One in particular with Colombia, they were trying like some new digital PA, like where everything is done through Dante or like this new digital language or something like that, and even the speakers. And man, we were dying to go on. There's a full orchestra. There's 12,000 people. We're right in the middle of Colombia, and they could not get that PA on.
Oh, wow.
They could not get that PA on. They could not make it happen. And it ended up being, I want to say, almost 35 minutes. And we were like, wow, this is pretty crazy. We were fine. We ended up going on. We had experiences like that. One time we had an experience in Switzerland where our in-ear monitors had completely taken the dump maybe 2 minutes before, and the reset on the board alone was about 12 minutes, but the reset couldn't happen. So our monitor guy, Phil Dunn, genius dude. I think he works at Ruth Eckert right now, but genius guy. He took everything and put it on his iPad.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And we went on only maybe I'd say 20 minutes late with our ears shining. I mean, they sounded like we were like, how the heck did you do this? That everything sounds so darn good, And the other thing I remember too about the Germany shows, and which record is that? That's Lifespan. Okay. Those Germany shows were really interesting in that particular sound environment. And Alan in particular was on fire those shows as far as really going out into the audience before the show and listening at different points and really dialing it in and doing a lot of extra work to make it awesome. I do remember that about Lifespan.
Oh, so cool. Before joining Alan Parsons, you had 2 solo albums out, correct? And now during your time with Alan Parsons, you've released 3 solo albums. So you have a total of 5 solo albums that you've released. Can you talk a little bit more about the songwriting that you do for yourself for your solo work?
Well, that's a good question too. I definitely have always been into the craft of songwriting and really prided myself on artistry. I was fortunate to be signed super young, 16 or 17 years old, and I think to Warner Chappell around 19 or 20. And when I got signed to a publisher, they made me really go out and write with tons of different people, just you're gonna write with Atmar Liebert one day and someone else another day, just boom 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 boom. And some guys would write from a chorus, other guys would write from a verse, from a riff, from a keyboard thing, and I really spent a lot of time in wonder of the craft of songwriting. But somewhere along the way, I also really truly became very reflective, where instead of writing 50 songs constantly, I'd kind of drive in the car and maybe even not have my lyric book. Maybe not even have it. Be like, hey, here's 3 hours, and the thought the persistent thought of how to canvas that lyric in a place that's going to speak to it, kind of be in history once you record it. I've always taken very, very seriously. And with the craft of songwriting, sometimes I songwrite first as an artist, and then a lot of the times correct myself as a producer, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And so I've even learned in songwriting, like when you got a great verse and you got a great chorus and shit, I got to get back to that verse, and God, I just don't want to play the reintro, so I'm going to do something cool, but what's it going to be? And well, wait a second, I'm 50, so I'm not going to pull my hair out about it, because guess what? Those 2 bars already exist. So when I come back to it, I'm like, okay, let's work on those 2 bars that I need to get back to the second verse. Oh, this is really fun. It's like I'm rewriting the song again. Yeah. It's only 2 bars.
You kind of alluded that you had multiple songs for Alan Parsons when you guys were writing the newest album. Do you keep those just for like the next Alan Parsons project that comes up, or are you working on another solo album? It's been a while.
Yeah, I any of the songs that I actually write for Alan, and I do have specific songs that I write for Alan. After knowing him personally, first and foremost, not as my boss or anything like that, but personally, when I go to create, I choose a certain kind of embryonic place to choose from for him. So I do keep those songs in a special kind of, multiple folders at this point of my life on multiple disk drives. I'd like to say it's like one drive, but it's not. It's actually gigs and gigs of information. And I do keep those for him, but in my own creativity, I found a lot of new beautiful places to be inspired from in the last few years. And I'm super excited to be working at my very best creatively right now, and as well creatively as an engineer, and just have an array of microphones and different rooms to work in with great musicians. And I travel all over with my Airstream, and no matter what, go to every single musician and spend extra amount of time with them without any record label breathing down our neck. Yeah. And I absolutely love creativity. And again, I'm so grateful to be a part of it every single day.
Oh, so cool. Songwriting wise, opposed to you writing for yourself, for your own solo endeavors, and then opposed to writing music for Alan Parsons, that your headspace, do you have to get into a certain frame of mind to write music for Alan Parsons music, and then certain music that you have to write for your own solo endeavors? How does it work for you, or do you just go out and write the song? It doesn't matter who it's for.
Again, that's Eric, right?
Yes.
Yeah, asking that question, and Eric, that's a really interesting, cool question. Honestly, I would say at the beginning of working with Alan that I probably did intend to write for Alan, and as now maybe probably 7 years ago at that point, 8 years ago, I don't know when it was, but probably I kind of lived with his inspiration in me. Mm-hmm. And as well, kind of after having so many dinners and conversations and tours and talks about Eric and the respect level for Eric, and I did spend a lot of time just kind of trying to feel out what Eric was about in songwriting, and now I kind of feel like I just want I'll just fall into writing a song for him, and trust me, brothers, I'd say for every yes, I get 14 no's.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of writing. There's there's a lot of stuff. There's soundscapes. There's times that I've spent probably a week working on a piano with certain different delays and resonances and Moog filters, trying to create something for Alan that he's like, that's dynamite. You know, and you know, so it's not just in the writing, but I spend a lot of time on the sonic areas, in the stereo imagery areas with different frequencies, and really exploring all the synthesizers. And one time we were working, and I got into one of his back rooms, and I found a DX7 with like that old disc, and on that disc it said Sirius.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And I was like, Alan, what is this? And he's like, hey, it's the original Sirius sound.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, isn't that interesting? And so it was like a DX7 with those, there's like these little cartridges you stuck in.
Yeah.
Now, he took that what I think was FM synthesis with the DX7. Really amazing synthesizer. And he played that part, I believe, into a Fairlight or a Synclavier, and then created all the delays around that initial sound. But there was one day that I was actually working with him that I went into a closet and found the DX7 and found a disc. He's like, oh, well, isn't that funny? That's actually the original thing, you know? And I was like, I had goosebumps. I think I still have goosebumps, actually, you know?
Oh, that's so
Very
cool. That is such a cool story.
Well, you grew up about 8 hours north of where we're at in Michigan. Did you find it extra challenging being Midwest, breaking into the music business, or did it just come natural for you?
Man, I breaking into the music business. You know, when you're up in Houghton, Michigan, very blessed to be in Houghton, Michigan, where you're really far away from anything, but there's a beautiful university, highly, 1,500, 2,000 international students in a very small town, hockey, fresh air, lots of snow.
Yeah.
I reflect on my UP and my Michigan as very involved in even how I use delays and reverbs to like express the sky in my writing, and I use a lot of nature in my music, and so I did find it incredibly hard to try to break out of the UP at all, and the only way that would have happened was with a lot of hard work, practicing and getting kind of something going on to go to music school. But my father taking the time and saying, hey, dude, you've been in music school your whole life long.
Yeah. Like,
seriously, you've been both your parents have degrees. You've been practicing since you were 6, and Dad put $1,200 in my pocket and sent me to LA.
Oh, wow.
Said, go be a songwriter. And I have never ever looked back at anything. I've always just moved forward, but always embraced everything that was substance. And that is the sky of the UP and the beautiful trees and the wonderful people and the feeling of the Midwest. And full circle, I will say that coming back and playing live with Alan Parsons in like 80 countries or 75 countries, whatever it's been. It's like an amazing amount of countries. I tell you, there is nothing like playing music in the Midwest, man.
Awesome.
That is awesome. All right, so I got one last question for you. And,
all right.
American Scream. I love that album.
Yeah.
No Place to Go is my favorite track from your solo work. Can you talk a little bit more about the writing of this album? It's just a fantastic album.
American Scream, my kids were all under 9 at that time, and that's 3 of them spread out over a few different ages there. And I had a lot of I was struggling with trying to not be political, because I find that art and politics get very weary to me. And I was struggling at that time with young children and starting to learn how to pay taxes and have credit and you know, shit like that. Like, you're growing up,
right,
and you're just so frustrated. You know, you're just, what? Like, no matter which way I'd turn, there'd be another piece of paper to fill out and something going on. And that whole record, I kind of made, I think we had 150 acres on the Brits farm. And I just, again, just kept reflecting on young life and what I thought then was mature life, as a young dad.
Yeah.
And a lot of those songs are written, out of love. Like, I'm actually writing to my kids, about, a lot of different, future things that are going to happen in their lives.
Yeah.
You know, that record was a lot of fun to make. Who did I make that record for? I think maybe CBS. Yeah, American Scream was CBS with Larry Jenkins. And those are interesting times right there.
Oh,
really interesting times.
Such a cool album. Well, we're out of our allotted time for the evening. Is there anything that we did not cover tonight that you would like to plug or promote?
You know, not really. Maybe we could, talk a little bit later at some point. I will tell you that I have a beautiful new creativity in me that I'm trying to nurture so that I can share right now. I feel really good about everything. I'm working with just the most outstanding musicians again. Some of the same guys I've worked with for years. Emerson Swinford playing guitar, who plays for Rod Stewart now. John Fremgen playing bass again. God, I think we've been 25 years together. Just a lot of really wonderful players but I'm really taking my time. Again, no label breathing down my neck. There's some knocks on the door, but I have a real question about the current music business. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What do we do, guys?
Absolutely. Well, let's do that. Let's plan on, maybe in a few months when you're back off tour with Alan, let's do it again. Let's do a part 2. Sound good?
Right on, man.
Hey,
that sounds really good. And hey, thanks for having me, man.
Oh, this has been fantastic.
Thank you so much.
So this is how it's going to work. We're about 2 to 3 weeks behind schedule right now. So this episode, after Jeff, the editing wizard, gets it all cleaned up, we're looking at 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe at most to get this out. And we'll send it to your press people immediately. I'll send it to you, too, as well.
All right.
Hey, man.
Peace to you guys.
Safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Safe travels, man. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.